Perfect. So yeah, last time we left off, I believe we were learning about slotting, slot APIs, and basically passing these, what was it, content? Let me take a look real quick. Yeah, content composables to basically, add them to our home section. So in the home screen now we have this spacer search bar now. We have another spacer, the home section with the align your body list or row, and then the favorites grid underneath that as well. It looks a little bit like this. And yeah, I think we can probably continue from there. Let me see exactly where we left off. So if I'm not mistaken, we left off right here, which is when we added the spacing for everything. I missed one. So let me go ahead and add that real quick. And then the last thing that we didn't do was this, which is scrolling. So it says here, although the design fits well on most devices, it needs to be scrollable vertically in case the device is not high enough. Let me see, yeah. Or for example, in landscape mode. This requires you to add scrolling behavior. There's things like lazy row, lazy horizontal list, of course, that we've seen, but and they do have automatic scrolling behavior, but it seems here that we don't always need a lazy layout. Like obviously we could do a column, for example, that's just set, and you can use a lazy layout when you have many elements, right? Like a dynamic sort of data set. So emitting all elements at once would come at a performance cost, makes sense, and would slow down your app. When a list has only a limited number of elements, you can instead choose to use a simple column or row, which in this case we do. We only have the two rows, essentially, the two lists. And so in this case, we can use vertical scroll or horizontal scroll modifiers. They both require a scroll state, which contains the current state of the scroll used to modify the scroll state from outside. So in this case, you're now looking to modify the scroll state. You simply create a persistent scroll state instance by using remember scroll states. Okay, so it sounds like basically we're going to be going over cases where you don't necessarily need a lazy row or lazy grid or anything like that. Just a regular column or row with some sort of scroll modifier that retains the scroll state, essentially. At the same time, I'm not sure if this is just referring to the persistence of that scroll state in general, or we can use it also in a lazy row, or if that's something already innate, because it doesn't really mention it does mention the automatic scrolling behavior, right, that the lazy lists have, but it doesn't mention if we create this persistent scroll state by using lazy lists or anything like that. So I'm assuming this in general will apply to both, but we'll see. And they want us to add that to our column, essentially. So let me see. Or our rows in general. So in this particular case, and let me just take a look. Right, okay. It doesn't really reference it, but it seems like in the home screen we're actually adding it to the home screen column. So let me go ahead and go to that one real quick, right here. And to this modifier, they want us to add this scroll. I'm assuming it's going to be just a vertical scroll, and we're going to be using the remember scroll state. There you go. And let me take a look at this documentation real quick. So it says here, create and remember the scroll state based on the currently appropriate scroll configuration to allow changing scroll position or observing scroll behavior. And then it dives into remember, etc. It has here an initial integer, which is defaulted to 0. I'm assuming this relates to maybe the position, perhaps. Let's take a look here what scroll state has. State of the scroll allows the developer to change the scroll position or get current state by calling methods on this object to be hosted and passed to vertical scroll, horizontal scroll, etc. And then you can, I guess by diving into the actual modifier, we can learn how to control the state. But the parameter initials here is actually the value of the scroll. The value of the scroll. So the current scroll position in pixels. Yeah, so that's pretty much what that was. All right, cool. So with that in mind, we can... Oh, okay, so we don't have to run the app. We could just go ahead and add a new sort of height, I guess, to the preview itself, so that we can test it. Since right now our preview is full height, we won't really see that behavior until we add it. Welcome, welcome. All right, cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and add to our preview, which is a screen content preview. Screen content preview. So to this, they want us to set the height to something smaller, 180 dp. Height dp 180, so that our screen content preview shows up a little bit smaller, and we're able to interact with it to basically make sure that it's actually retaining the scroll state that we just added as a modifier. So let's take a look at this real quick. So it's still loading, it's still rendering. I'll wait for that. Welcome, welcome. All right, so it should be ready. Let me take a look here. So we can probably start the interactive mode and see if we can scroll, pretty much. If we're able to scroll and retain the scroll position and state, we should be good. Yes. So it is working to some extent, for the most part. However, let me see if I did it to the right one. So this is home section preview, screen content preview. So this would be for the home screen, which is what we did not modify this one. So what we modified was the home section. So we're just gonna add this to the home screen, and that should be the one. So let's go ahead and start that interactive mode in a second. All right, perfect. Let's take a look here. All right, now we're able to scroll all the way. And we should be able to scroll left and right as well for the grid and the row up here. Perfect. So this was successful so far. Let's take a look at let's take a look here at the next content. So it seems like we wrapped up most of it. Now we're gonna go ahead and add a bottom navigation. But before I dive into the next section, any questions so far? I know that we have some people join. Just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. All right, perfect. Let me check out the chat. Yeah, if anything does not make sense, this is a conversation, so feel free to unmute or drop me a message in the chat, and I'll go ahead and answer it to the best of my ability. So for the most part, we do have like usually some more experienced people, but you got me today. So you know, if I don't know something, I'll Google it for sure. But if you're not familiar with Compose, some things might not make sense, but feel free to just ask away. All right. So yeah, we're gonna dive into the bottom navigation portion of this code lab, and I'm just gonna go ahead and send this link in the chat just in case you don't have it and you want to follow along. But for the most part, we've implemented most of the application, it seems, for the code lab. So now we're gonna be adding the bottom nav, and this is what it looks like more or less. Let's take a look. So you don't have to implement this entire composable from scratch by yourself. You can use navigation bar. So it seems like this is a composable function that's already created for us or in place for us from the Compose material library, which is good. So I believe they should have a place for us to modify. So yeah, right here. So they said navigation bar is the next component that we're going to be using. So let me take a look at that real quick. Navigation bar, okay. Cool. And then it takes navigation bar item. Awesome. All right, so navigation bar, let's see. Navigation bar. And I'll just pass the modifier to this. Let me make sure that we have, let me see. So it's not getting the reference. I think it might have something to do with the imports. Let's take a look, because we ran into that issue earlier last time, where we had, I think we were using material 2 and this might be material 3. If that's the case, then we might have to add some of those imports. Just optimize, and then let me take a look. Material. So I think material 3 is a bit of a different one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and look up material 3 import on Google. Not migration. I guess this one should have it, maybe. Compose material 3, documentation. Let's take a look. Stable, maybe. So this should be the import, possibly. Not sure. Let's take a look. Since this is the latest version, we should be able to add this in. More than likely, but implementation. Let's sync this real quick. All right, so it didn't throw any errors, which is good. Can we import now? Oh, it imported. Perfect. So we are on track. So it does require a content parameter. So we're gonna go ahead and say content is equal to, and as of right now, I'm not sure exactly what it'll take, but let me take a look at this. Content row scope, that's what it says essentially. So let me take a look at the code lab real quick to make sure we're on the right track. So and we might not have to do that, add the content, if we do this, I think, with the navigation bar item. Yeah. And the reason I think is because the content would be just the composable that it requires, which is the items themselves. And by doing this, we already referenced like the row scope, and we could just add the items here. So let me go ahead and just drop that in. We're gonna need 2 items, I believe they mentioned. And the items are home and profile. Welcome, Lewis, welcome. So right now we're in the middle of adding a bottom navigation bar. And I just added some empty items. So you're not missing much. Let's take a look now. So we need I'm trying not to look at the guide. If I have to, I will. But I'm just kind of going off of this for now. They want us to add the navigation bar with these 2 items. And then we need to essentially have an icon, like a default icon. And then have one for when it's selected. So like a filled icon sort of. And then some sort of on-click. I don't know that they'll have us do the on-clicks for this one, but we'll take a look. As far as the icons, I'm just going to have to take a look because I'm not sure exactly what they used. So, seems like... Oh, okay, so it's not even an icon for selected. It's just a Boolean parameter. So it would be the home that would be automatically selected or pre-selected. We'll put false for this one in the meantime. The on-click, I don't think they want us to do anything for now. Yeah, so we'll leave it like that. And then the actual icon will be this thing. I'm just going to copy over. So it'll be icon. It won't be a painter. It will be the vector image, is it? Image vector. Image vector. Oops. All right. Content description will be null because the home icon should be able to describe itself with the title if it has one. Yeah, it does. It should. It should be the label. We'll have to add that, I think. Let me see. Yeah, we'll add the label. And I'll leave it blank for now. And then the actual icon was this, I think. There we go. All right, so let me see what the preview looks like more or less. So it's still missing the label, of course. Let me take a look at what that takes. It's a unit, so it'll be one of these. And for the most part, it'll just be a text composable inside the label. So I'll go ahead and do that. Text, they should probably have something already. So string resource, r.string. Let me reference home, bottom navigation home. Perfect. So I will copy this over to the other item, and then this will change obviously. This will be a different icon to default account circle. Perfect. It should import it now, and then it should say, I don't even know what it'll say here. Profile. So profile. So we already have the string resource. Perfect. So it seems like the items are showing for the most part. The text will update now. We're seeing the two different icons. One's selected already, which is the home. The other one is not selected. And obviously this should be dynamic for the most part. But I'm assuming for this codelab, they just want to show us more or less what that looks like. Cool. So I think we got that out of the way. That's what it looks like. And they're talking about the fact that you can update the container color parameter. You can use surface variant color from the material theme. So in case we want to adapt the style, essentially. So let's take a look at that real quick. So we have it up here for the actual bar itself. So container color. I'll go ahead and do this. Container color is equal to. And then they're just referencing pretty much the material theme surface variant. So that should be just actually, yeah, that should be our colors, if I'm not mistaken. Colors. Will that import? No. Dots. Surface variants. Well, I guess in this case, I don't really have, I only have these primarily. So I'm not even sure if this will work the same way, but we could try. Just to see what it looks like with the change. Yeah, so it changed the actual color of the bar itself. Obviously, it looks hideous. That's not what we want, so I'm just going to go ahead and back out of that. This is not what we need. And for the most part, the guide, as we've seen, it's not really matching the current state of things. So we're going to skip that for a bit. So it should look like that. Cool. We have a pretty decent bottom nav bar for the most part. So let's take a look at the next section. Scaffold. So for this step, we're going to create the full screen implementation, including the bottom navigation, using the scaffold composable. It gives you top level configurable composable for apps that implement material design. It contains slots for various material concepts, one of which is the bottom navigation bar. In the bottom bar, you can place the bottom navigation composable that you created in the previous step. Cool. So it sounds like we're just plugging more stuff in. Cool. So we want to implement the MySooth app portrait composable. And this is a top level composable for the app. So you should apply the theme, add the scaffold, set the bottom navigation or bottom bar, right, to the new composable we just created, and then set the content to be the home screen composable. So for the most part, I think we should have that. Yeah, this is a scaffold step right here. So it's not called portrait, I guess. It's just MySooth app. So like I mentioned, some things are not the same or matching. But for the most part, they want us to apply the MySooth theme. So let's go ahead and start with that, MySooth theme. And then they want us to use a scaffold. And then to that scaffold, they want to add the bottom bar. Set the bottom bar to whatever that is. For the scaffold, we can go ahead and, well, first of all, pass the modifier that we're going to reference right here. So we're going to say modifier, type modifier, is equal to modifier. Oops. What is it? Oh, it's not a function. optional. I mean, how do we? Yeah, that's how we've done it so far. Unless this is more like top level, and then maybe it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so we'll remove it for now. And we're gonna go ahead and add the bottom bar. So bottom bar is equal to, and this is gonna be our well, what did we call it? Soothe bottom navigation. That's what it is. Cool. So this is the preview. Now once we add it, it should have the bottom bar showing down there. There it is. And then set the content to be our home screen composable. So the content should be our home screen composable. Home screen. Are we able to call it like that? No, this is just the actual values. We could reference it by just saying content for the most part. Home screen. Let's wait for it to render real quick. Cool. So no changes there. I see that they did do something a little different. So they referenced the padding for the scaffold, and then they basically added that as the modifier for the home screen. So a little different. Let's do that. So they reference the padding, and then they say home screen with the modifier being modifier.padding and passing the scaffold's padding essentially. All right. It changes things a little bit, maybe. Not seeing it, but maybe a little bit. Let's take a look at what else. So it's not complete, perfect. What's next? Navigation rail. When creating layouts for apps, you also need to be mindful of what they look like, including like landscape mode, etc. And okay, so the navigation rail is basically for landscape mode or wide applications. Instead of being a bottom navigation and taking up more vertical space, you have it over here on the left hand side. Perfect. So it seems like we do something similar to the navigation bar, right? Which would be your navigation rail, and then you have navigation rail item. Awesome. So let's take a look at that. And I think, yeah, in this starter code that they provided for us, we don't really have access to that. Like there's no composable for the navigation rail. So we're just going to go ahead and create our own based on what we've done already. So I'll copy over the navigation bar stuff and just call it navigation rail, right? Navigation rail. Navigation rail. We'll say navigation rail. And then this is going to be navigation rail item. Perfect. Let me see. Let me make sure that this is imported. Material 3. Perfect. No errors there, except for this one. We're also gonna add the preview for it. So let's take a look at this real quick. So again, copying the bottom navigation stuff, but instead of that, it's gonna be navigation rail preview. It's gonna be composable, show background, sure. And then here, navigation, wait, soothe, soothe navigation rail. Perfect. Passing the padding that we had there. So that should render in a second. Hopefully it changes the orientation. It does. It looks hideous. So let's take a look at what else. What else is next? So this is what they want. Right now, this is what it's looking like. Seems like the items are being pushed up for the most part. So maybe we need to play with the actual content itself. But let's see what they ask for. So we technically did this. The only thing that we didn't do, or did we? Let me take a look. Yeah, we didn't wrap it in a column. And I don't think we did that here either. Oh man, let me take a look at that real quick. So the bottom navigation. Okay, so there's no row or anything like that for the bottom navigation. But for the rail, there's a column. Okay, that's interesting. So let's add a column. A column. And then the column is basically going to wrap up everything up to here. Should. Maybe. Maybe not. Let's take a look. Oh, I did it to the bottom navigation. All right, my bad. Let me go back to this one. Okay. So column. All right, that one takes it. Cool. And then for the most part, the preview hasn't changed really, but at least we are following suit. Let's see what else. Oh, cool. So yeah, theirs looks the same. There are some style adaptations you should make. Add 8 dp of padding at the start and end of the rail. Update the background color of the navigation rail by setting its container color. I'm not doing that. I'm not changing that to purple again. So we can skip that for now. Unless by setting the background color, the color of the icons and text automatically adapts. So it should be adapting right now because from what I've seen here, like most of the, and maybe we could test it out, right? Like we could run the app and see what it looks like with dark mode, etc. But I think it's doing it automatically. I'm not sure. Let's take a look. So this is our app. About to build. And for the most part, let's take a look at the padding. So we're gonna add some padding to the actual rail itself, to the start and end. So in this particular case, I guess the modifier would be the best bet. I don't think it has anything built in for it. So let me see if I can update the, there it is, dark theme. See what that looks like. Okay, so yeah, it's not doing it at all. So that's terrible. We definitely need to revisit that, or we can try, but for the most part, what I've seen, we would have to update our colors because I don't think we have like what they were asking for. Yeah, like we could try surface maybe, but I'm not even sure if that'll work. Let's give that a try real quick. Container color is equal to colors dot import surface. Let's see what that looks like here. I think it already updated it. It looks a little different. So if we were to rerun that app, well, actually this is the rail, so it wouldn't matter. Let me do it for the bottom bar. So I'll do it here. I'll rerun it now. All right, so for the most part, the light mode obviously did not change much, just a little bit. Doesn't have that blue tint, but let's see what dark mode looks like. Dark mode's on. Still the same. So I will leave it as is for now. Let me stop the emulator real quick. And let's continue. All right, so start and end of the rail. Okay. They want some padding. So we can probably just modify it here. So we could say like padding, maybe, I don't even know what it was called. Let me see. Padding. Would it be vertical in this case? Since it's a rail and it looks vertical. I'm not even sure how the values would relate here, but let's try that real quick. Let's see if it moves, if it shifts a little bit. So it did a little bit. I saw it. However, I mean, they specified the rail, so I'll leave it like that for now. Color, the column should fill the maximum height. So they want the column to have maximum height, right? So we're gonna say modifier the height, fill max height should be it. How did we do that before? Let me see. Let me see what we've done in the past. Fill max. Yeah, it's just a modifier. Okay, so we don't even need to actually just mention height. We could just say modifier.fill max height. Perfect. What else? The vertical arrangement of the column itself to center. And yeah, it does have an actual vertical arrangement. So we can say vertical arrangement is equal to, let me be explicit with this as well. And this will be taking the arrangement dot center. So that should shift it, hopefully. And the horizontal alignment to center horizontally. Yeah, it did shift it, perfect. And then does that have horizontal alignment? Yep. Horizontal alignment is equals to center horizontally. And then we want to add 8dp padding between the two icons. So I wonder if there's something for that here. Or in the rail itself. Maybe not. Would we use a spacer, perhaps? No? Yeah, there is a spacer. Okay. So I'm just gonna grab that, and then I'll just verify that everything else is the same. All right, so one thing that I didn't do, so they wanted to be explicit, I guess, for the start and end padding for the most part. And I think I might have messed up because I believe when referring to the rail, essentially, if we want it to be on the left-hand side in a wide layout, the padding should be pushing the content, right? So that you have more space between the rail and the content. So I think I definitely messed up on that. So I'll do something similar to this, where instead of saying vertical, we'll specify that it's actually at the start and end, not the top and bottom. So start and is equal to a.dp. And then for this one, they want us to reuse that modifier, I think. Yep. And then let's see what else. That was the main thing. Cool. So it should look like that. It does. And then they want us to add it to the landscape layout. So we don't have a landscape layout because, again, the starter code was missing it. So the first thing I'll do is, we noticed here that the scaffold, it was named portrait before. It's not named portrait here. So I'll go ahead and name it portrait because it makes sense in the meantime. Unless it's a preview. Let me take a look. Yeah, no. So I'll put my Sooth portrait preview. Portrait. And then I will add a vertical. Vertical. A landscape one. Just inverting the width and the height essentially. And we'll create one called landscape. Obviously right now it doesn't exist, but I'll go ahead and do that real quick. And then this will actually change. So landscape. Wait. Landscape. Yeah, okay. I thought I was referencing something else. All right. So for now, we can go ahead and just say fun landscape. And we'll do the same thing. So this will be a composable. I don't need to comment that for now. We'll say my Sooth theme. This will, I'm not even sure if it's a scaffold or not. Let's take a look at this. It's a row. It's a row. It has the rail and the home screen. So let's go ahead and say navigation rail, or Sooth navigation rail, and then a home screen. The preview should be down here. And let's see what it looks like. Oh, there's an issue up here. Let me take a look at that. Ah, yes. Portrait. All right, so this is the regular portrait mode. The landscape is a little bit odd right now. It's a little bit odd. Mainly because of the background. But that might have something to do with the fact that we're just using row flat out. Or, yeah, and our theme maybe doesn't handle that well. Because on this one we use the theme and we use a scaffold. Let me take a look at the scaffold real quick. Yeah, so scaffold automatically uses this, the container color background, but I don't think row does that. So let's take a look at row real quick. No. It does not. It does not. And a scaffold is... should be primarily just for portrait, because I see top and bottom bar. Maybe we could just add a surface modifier to that instead. So like if we say surface and we add, I think this one has like content color, and then we just reference that, and then we add the row in there. Maybe that'll work. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean that's a lot better. Welcome, welcome. All right, so maybe not a lot better. Let's take a look at this, just the surface itself, because that should have it already built in, I think. Yeah, it has a color already defaulted. So let's wait for this preview to load and take a look. All right. And that's that. So yeah, we have a portrait mode, we have a landscape. Let's see what else they might be asking for. Oh, actually they reference the background stuff here. So we weren't too far off by adding the surface. So I'm glad we caught that. And then it doesn't look exactly the same because the color is different. But when we tried to add that content color, or maybe it's just color. Let me see here. Yeah, color. So instead of the actual content, it'll just be color. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, yeah, it matches a little bit better. Obviously, the whole thing's a little weird since the starter code was off from the codelab itself, but for the most part, it's not bad. Okay. Any questions so far? And if you just join and you see anything that sticks out or anything like that, feel free to unmute as well or drop a message in the chat. And then the next thing that they wanted to do was sort of, I guess, account for different window sizes. But I think what we have here is good enough for now, for this meeting. I don't want to dive into that without, actually, I don't know. I might do it. 5 minutes? Maybe. We'll see. Because there's only this left. So, all right, let's take a look. All right, we have landscape mode, we have portrait mode. If you run the device or emulator and turn it to the side, it won't show the landscape version. Okay. I'm not even going to confirm that. I can just believe it because we don't really have a way to configure that right now. That's because we need to tell the app when to show which configuration of the app, right? It is. So to do this, we can use calculate WindowSizeClass. Cool. So this is a different sizing, I guess, for the different phone types. There's compact, medium, and expanded. When the app is in portrait mode, it is in compact width. When it's in landscape, it is expanded. For the purposes of this codelab, we won't be working with medium. Okay, cool. So in the actual MySooth app composable, we're going to update it to take in the device's window class. Oops. I'm pretty sure I modified this function, but we'll double check now. If it is compact, pass in the portrait version of the app. If it is landscape, okay, that makes sense. So we are going to be taking in a window size. And then inside content, create a val called window size, set to calculate window size, and pass it to the Sooth app. So we're going to need some annotation to opt in for this experimental stuff. It should look a little bit like this. And I know what I need to do. So I went ahead and modified this, right, to basically be just the portrait, which is fine for the most part. We needed this function anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new one for the app as a whole. So we're gonna go ahead and call it my Soothe app, and this one's gonna take in the window size, right? WindowSizeClass, I think it's called. Let me take a look. Yeah, WindowSizeClass. And let me see if I can import that. So we need the library. Oh yeah, material 3. So we'll go ahead and import that as well. Composable. All right, perfect. And then in here, we're gonna be saying when window size. This should ask me to add. I guess not. It's not adding me. Let me see. Did I import the wrong one? Width size, height size. Okay. Oh, it's the width size class. Cool. I thought it would prompt me to add the rest of the stuff, but that's fine. So compact and expanded. Compact and expanded. What does it want us to do? Yeah, just reference the portrait one. So portrait. Window width, size class, expanded, landscape. All right, we have this set up. So now we need to update the set content, which is all the way at the top. Set content to just be the My Soothe app. And we need to pass in the calculate window size stuff. And that'll be a variable, I think. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and create a variable called window size. And it's gonna be equal to calculate. All right, yeah. Calculate windows size. So it hasn't, oh, did I miss something? Let me, window size class. And then we need to opt in, of course. I'm just gonna do it for the whole class here. And then we pass in the context. We pass in the window size. And that should do it for the most part. So I'll go ahead and run the app, and then we'll just rotate and see if it works. All right, let's take a look. So obviously the app's working right now here, but we should see the rail should not be here. Let me see if I can move the auto rotate up a bit. All right. Cool. So it's already set. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rotate the phone. Not seeing anything, but maybe that's not our fault. Let's take a look. So we go in here, it sees what class it is essentially, and then it drops in either portrait or a landscape one. I think that's all we needed. So if it's not working, I wonder why. Does it work if I rotate it back? It does. It does. It does. That's interesting. something that I'm gonna have to look into. But for now, I mean, we definitely have the code set up. So that's pretty much all they had there. I would hope that they have like the finalized codelab on GitHub, but I'm not seeing it here. I don't think. It's just samples. Okay. But for now, at least we finished this codelab. Implement a real world design. That's awesome. So yeah, it took a little bit of time, but we got there.